Right now, 400 kilometers above your head, something extraordinary is happening, and chances are you haven't heard much about it. While the world's attention remains fixed on the aging International Space Station, China has quietly constructed what might be the most advanced human habitat ever placed in orbit. This is Tiangong, the Heavenly Palace, and it represents a fundamental shift in how we think about living and working in space. Orbiting Earth every 90 minutes, this gleaming white laboratory carries Chinese astronauts who exist inside what looks less like traditional space hardware and more like a carefully designed home from the future. Clean, minimalist, deliberate in every detail. For over 25 years, the International Space Station has symbolized humanity's presence beyond Earth. A massive collaborative project involving 5 space agencies and over a dozen nations, it's been the undisputed king of orbital research. But here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The ISS is old, really old. Built with 1990s technology, held together by decades of patches, upgrades and workarounds. And then China showed up with something completely different. Between April 2021 and November 2022, in just 18 months, China launched, assembled and activated a fully operational space station from absolute scratch. Not over years, not over decades. 18 months from first launch to continuous human occupation. And what shocked engineers around the world wasn't just the speed, it was the sophistication. Tiangong isn't simply newer than the ISS. In fundamental ways, it's been designed better for what space stations are actually supposed to do. Keep humans alive, productive, and mentally healthy in one of the most hostile environments imaginable. So let's go inside and see what daily life actually looks like aboard China's orbital palace, because the details reveal a lot about where human spaceflight is heading next. To understand Tiangong, you need to understand China's methodical approach to space, because unlike the rushed competition of the Cold War space race, China's path to permanent orbital presence was deliberate, patient, and built on incremental learning. The story starts with Tiangong 1 and Tiangong 2, small experimental modules launched in 2011 and 2016. These were proof-of-concept stations, single pressurized cylinders that hosted short-duration crews to validate life support technology, test docking procedures, and study how humans adapted to extended microgravity exposure. They weren't meant to be permanent. They were training wheels, practice runs building institutional knowledge before attempting something genuinely ambitious. Then in April 2021, everything escalated. China launched Tianhe, meaning Harmony of the Heavens. This core module stretches 16.6 meters long and 4.2 meters in diameter. It serves as mission control, primary power generation hub, and crew living quarters all in one massive pressurized cylinder. A year later, construction accelerated dramatically. In July 2022, the Wentian module docked autonomously. Quest for the Heavens brought additional laboratory space, expanded crew quarters, and, crucially, a dedicated airlock for spacewalks. 3 months after that, Mengtian completed the configuration. Dreaming of the Heavens is dedicated purely to scientific research, packed with experiment racks and external mounting platforms for instruments that can only function in the vacuum of space. Each module launched aboard China's most powerful rocket, the Long March 5B. And here's what impressed engineers globally. The modules docked themselves. Robotic arms and precision navigation systems guided multi-ton structures together in perfect alignment without direct human control. Automated orbital choreography executed flawlessly. By December 2022, Tiangong achieved a historic milestone. During the crew handover between Shenzhou 14 and Shenzhou 15, 6 taikonauts lived aboard simultaneously for the first time. That moment marked China's official entry into the exclusive club of nations maintaining continuous human presence in space. Today, Tiangong operates as a fully functional, T-shaped station orbiting every hour and a half. And China states openly that this is only phase 1 of a much larger long-term vision. So what hits you first when you step inside? It's not the size, it's the atmosphere, the intentionality of every design choice. Tiangong feels fundamentally different from the cramped, cluttered aesthetic that characterises the ISS. Observers who've studied footage from both stations describe Tiangong as looking less like a traditional space station and more like a high-end technology showroom in orbit. Everything about it screams modern design philosophy applied to extreme engineering challenges. Now, technically, Tiangong's module diameter matches the ISS almost exactly, about 4.2 metres or 14 feet across. But the similarity ends there. Where ISS modules tend to be relatively short, creating a maze of interconnected compartments and tight junctions, China's approach went vertical. The Wentian and Mengtian modules each extend over 18 metres in length, nearly 60 feet of continuous internal space. That extra length more than doubles usable volume compared to equivalent ISS modules. More importantly, it creates long, uninterrupted workspaces instead of the constant navigation through tight corridors that characterises life aboard the ISS. Step inside and you're surrounded by smooth white composite panelling. Almost all cables, life support conduits, and system components are hidden behind clean surfaces. Much of the equipment connects wirelessly, eliminating the tangled nests of cables and bulky networking hardware that dominate older station interiors. Everything from atmospheric processors to scientific equipment was designed for modular integration. Components can be swapped, upgraded, or replaced without major structural modifications. It's all neatly incorporated into the architecture, rather than bolted onto surfaces as afterthoughts. And this aesthetic isn't just about appearances. Those smooth surfaces are significantly easier to sterilize, critical in a closed environment where microbial contamination poses serious health risks. The bright, evenly distributed LED lighting reduces eye strain during long missions. The uniformly lit walls improve video quality for both scientific documentation and personal communication with families back home. Behind those pristine panels runs a sophisticated network of redundant power distribution and environmental control systems. If any component detects a malfunction, the system can automatically reroute around the failure without crew intervention. The modules connect through pressurized transfer tunnels, each with independent environmental controls. If contamination or pressure loss occurs in one section, it can be isolated in seconds without compromising the rest of the station. Every material choice, every lighting decision, every ergonomic detail serves one overarching purpose: making life in the vacuum of space feel as psychologically normal as possible. Because for taikonauts spending 6 months away from Earth, that sense of calm isn't a luxury, it's a medical necessity. So what does a typical 24 hours actually involve up there? Normally, 3 taikonauts call Tiangong home. During crew transitions, that number temporarily doubles to 6, filling every sleeping compartment, every workstation, every position at the dining area. The day begins with a wake-up alert from Mission Control in Beijing. After personal hygiene routines involving rinse-free shampoo and sanitizing wipes instead of actual showers, the crew assembles for breakfast together. All meals come vacuum-sealed and pre-labelled with individual names and calculated nutritional profiles. Food gets reheated and consumed communally, maintaining the psychological importance of shared meals even hundreds of kilometres above the planet. Then actual work begins. Morning hours focus on scientific duties, checking experimental progress, calibrating sensitive instruments, performing preventive maintenance on critical systems. Everything from installing software patches to securing handrails that have loosened from repeated use. Late morning brings a video conference with ground-based engineers and scientists. Mission planners review the day's priorities, authorize experimental protocols, coordinate exercise schedules to ensure everyone meets their mandatory fitness requirements. Around midday comes something unusual in Western space programs: a mandatory 1-hour rest period. This isn't optional downtime. It's programmed into the daily schedule as a long-standing principle in Chinese spaceflight operations. Even in orbit, even with critical work waiting, crew members need structured time to mentally decompress before tackling afternoon responsibilities. Afternoons centre on active research. Biology experiments examining how cells behave without gravity. Materials science studying crystal formation and alloy properties impossible to create on Earth. Fluid physics observations of liquid behaviour in microgravity. The specific work depends on which experiment racks are currently operational. Exercise sessions consume at least 2 hours daily. This isn't negotiable. It's medically essential. Without consistent resistance training, human bodies deteriorate rapidly in microgravity. Muscles atrophy. Bones lose density. Cardiovascular systems weaken. Evenings shift to a more relaxed rhythm. Dinner becomes another communal ritual, occasionally featuring comfort foods like kung pao chicken, braised pork, or dumplings prepared from vacuum-sealed ingredients. Afterward, crew members might stream entertainment content from Earth, read digital books, or record video messages for loved ones. Sometimes they film short public broadcasts, giving Chinese citizens glimpses of daily existence aboard their nation's orbital outpost. When sleep time arrives, each taikonaut retreats to a private sleeping alcove. 6 bunks total exist across the station, 3 in Tianhe, 3 more in Wentian. Each compartment measures barely larger than a closet, lined with acoustic insulation to dampen mechanical noise. Astronauts secure themselves in sleeping bags mounted to the wall, floating gently as they drift into unconsciousness, while circling Earth at 28,000 kilometers per hour. Inside each alcove sits a small tablet for video calls and displaying personal photographs. And if you occupy one of the bunks with an exterior porthole, you get arguably the most spectacular view available to any human being. Now let's discuss something that might seem mundane, but actually represents genuine technological innovation. Food. Space nutrition has evolved dramatically from the squeeze tubes and freeze-dried blocks of early missions. Inside Tiangong, the available menu includes over 120 meal varieties, each engineered to meet strict nutritional requirements, while also providing psychological satisfaction. Rice dishes, noodle preparations, fish, pork, chicken, vegetables, soups, flavour-rich sauces. Everything pre-cooked, vacuum-sealed, and carefully rotated to ensure dietary variety. Each package must survive months of storage, plus the violent vibrations of rocket launch without degrading. Every few months, Tianzhou cargo spacecraft dock, bringing fresh supplies. Not just spare parts and scientific equipment, but actual produce. Fresh apples, oranges, cherry tomatoes straight from Earth. It seems like a small thing, but psychologically it's enormous. That occasional taste of fresh food from home maintains morale when home exists 400 kilometers straight down through the vacuum of space. But here's where Tiangong possesses a genuine advantage over every other orbital habitat ever constructed. Mounted in the galley area, beside the fold-out dining surface, sits the world's first space-certified microwave oven. This device required nearly a decade of development. Unlike consumer microwaves that consume massive power, this one operates on minimal wattage. It's engineered to survive launch stresses and function reliably in the radiation environment of low Earth orbit, without electrical failure. On the ISS, astronauts reheat food using a warm water injection system. The process takes roughly 30 minutes per meal. Tiangong's microwave can prepare hot meals for 3 crew members in just 7 minutes. That might sound trivial, but in the psychological reality of long-duration spaceflight, hot food represents far more than nutrition. It's comfort. It's the small daily ritual that makes an environment feel like home rather than just a survival capsule. For taikonauts on months-long rotations, that warmth carries profound psychological value beyond the physical calories. Floating in microgravity looks elegant and effortless in videos, until you understand what it does to human physiology. Without Earth's constant gravitational load, the body starts breaking itself down. Muscles waste away. Bones lose calcium and structural integrity. The cardiovascular system, no longer fighting gravity to pump blood upward, begins to weaken and atrophy. So aboard Tiangong, exercise isn't a suggestion. It's a medical requirement enforced daily. Every taikonaut commits at least 2 hours to physical training every single day. The onboard gym might be the smallest in the universe, but it's remarkably sophisticated. In Tianhe's core module, a specialized treadmill and stationary bike are secured to the deck grid. Elastic harness systems keep crew members anchored while running, and vibration-dampening straps prevent each footfall from shaking the entire station. The Mengtian module houses a rowing machine and resistance training system. This is China's equivalent to the ISS's massive ARED, the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, capable of simulating up to 600 pounds of resistance. Tiangong's version achieves comparable muscle loading in a significantly smaller, more efficient package. Same physiological benefit, fraction of the space and mass. Watch internal footage carefully, and another detail becomes apparent. Foothold restraints and anchoring straps cover floors and walls throughout the station. Unlike ISS astronauts who frequently free-float through modules, taikonauts regularly anchor themselves, providing their brains with a consistent spatial reference that minimizes disorientation. And while official specifications remain limited, Chinese aerospace prototypes have revealed development of smart exercise garments. Clothing integrated with subtle resistance elements that keep muscles engaged even during routine activities. Essentially a wearable gym fighting microgravity's effects throughout the entire waking day. Every heartbeat, every muscle contraction, every bead of sweat. It's all data in a massive ongoing experiment, learning not merely how to survive in space, but how humans can genuinely thrive there long term. Because fundamentally, Tiangong isn't just a habitat, it's a research platform for humanity's future beyond Earth. Distributed across 3 modules, Tiangong houses 23 internal experiment racks and 50 external mounting platforms on the hull. That represents incredibly dense scientific capability for a station this size. Research spans enormous territory. Fluid dynamics experiments observe liquid behavior without gravitational influence. Combustion studies examine how flames propagate when no up or down exists. Materials science investigates metallic alloys and semiconductor crystals that can only form in microgravity. Biomedical research explores how human cellular biology adapts to space. One of the station's most elegant capabilities resides in Mengtian, a dedicated experimental airlock system. Scientists can assemble equipment inside the pressurized module, load it into a sealed chamber, then depressurize and expose it to space with simple controls. A robotic arm extracts the package and mounts it on external platforms. No time-consuming spacewalk required. The entire deployment process completes in a fraction of traditional timelines. Inside, crew members also tend small hydroponic cultivation systems, lettuce and leafy greens growing under artificial lighting. The goal transcends supplemental nutrition. It's testing integrated life support where plants convert carbon dioxide into oxygen, creating sustainable closed-loop ecosystems for deep space missions. And Tiangong doesn't operate in isolation. In 2023, 9 international research projects received approval through collaboration with the United Nations and European Space Agency. Studies examining radiation shielding, protein crystallization, cosmic particle analysis. Evidence that China's heavenly palace is gradually opening to global scientific partnership. If research represents Tiangong's heart, then its robotic systems are the hands making everything possible. The station carries two major mechanical arms. Tianhe's core module features a 10-metre arm. Wentian adds a 5-metre unit. Operating independently, they're formidable, but when linked together, they form a single 15-metre system, matching the legendary Canadarm2 on the ISS. These aren't simple cargo movers. They can delicately manipulate experiment modules, physically assist taikonauts during spacewalks, even help reposition visiting spacecraft during complex docking operations. Each arm segment articulates with millimetre precision, controlled either by operators inside or by mission control on Earth through telemetry links. During recent spacewalks, these arms installed structural handrails and connection points across the exterior, infrastructure supporting future expansion and maintenance activities. Because what exists today is explicitly only the beginning, China has publicly announced Phase 2. Plans to double station size within the next several years. A new multi-port docking adapter will attach to Tianhe's forward section, enabling 3 additional laboratory modules to connect. This expansion would grow Tiangong from 3 modules to 6, increasing total habitable volume from roughly 20% to nearly 40% of the ISS's capacity. The completed structure would resemble 2 T-shapes merged into a cross configuration. Elegant, balanced, dramatically increasing available docking ports for visiting vehicles. China also plans incorporating a backup Tianhe module constructed during original development. If integrated, it would provide redundant command capabilities, making the entire station more resilient against system failures. But expansion isn't purely about hardware, it's about international access. China has confirmed Pakistan's first astronaut is currently training for a future Tiangong mission. Discussions continue, with additional nations seeking orbital research opportunities. And orbiting in formation nearby, another technological achievement prepares to join the infrastructure. The Tiangong Space Telescope, often called China's Hubble. Targeted for launch around 2026, it will deploy a 2-metre primary mirror and an extraordinary 2.5 gigapixel camera with a field of view 300 times wider than Hubble's. Unlike Hubble, which required dangerous space shuttle servicing missions, Tiangong will share Tiangong's orbital path. It can periodically dock for refueling, component replacement, and technology upgrades. Capability no Western telescope has ever possessed. Together, Tiangong and Tiangong will anchor China's orbital science ecosystem. Human presence merged with robotic observation, machine precision partnered with human creativity and intuition. And that integrated partnership might well define the next era of humanity's expansion into space.